Energy Media has done a number of interviews with economists about using hydro dams as storage for renewables, for wind and solar. But there's another little wrinkle that I think is kind of interesting, and that's putting floating solar on hydro reservoirs. So I'm going to talk to Jenny Chase, who is the head of solar analysis for BloombergNEF about that. She joins us from the UK. So welcome to the interview, Jenny.
It's very nice to be here, Markham.
No, Jenny, this is an application that I'm not familiar with. Can you explain why you would put floating solar panels on a hydrodam reservoir?
So first of all, solar has got a lot cheaper over the last 10 years, and it's now the cheapest source of bulk electricity generation in quite a lot of countries, mostly sunny ones. And in consequence, power project developers are trying to put solar pretty much everywhere. And the limitations are very often either land or access to a grid connection. The thing about hydro reservoirs and hydro dams is that they already have a grid connection, and there's a large expanse of area that is not being used for anything. So essentially, you use floating solar, which is really just solar on a raft or solar on a boat, and you can use that space to build your solar plant. There's the additional advantage that solar electricity output is somewhat anti-correlated with hydro dam output, because dams tend to be lower in the winter. Oh, sorry, they tend to be lower in the summer. So hydro dams tend to generate less electricity in the summer, and solar panels, of course, generate more in the summer. So you're not, generally speaking, using the grid connection in competition with the hydro dam.
Can you build solar farms or put enough solar arrays on a hydro reservoir to make a significant difference, or is this a very small sort of niche application?
Oh, you should be able to get. I mean, it depends on how big your reservoir is, but it certainly, the peak capacity of the solar plant can be close to or equal the capacity of the dam sometimes. Obviously, it's only going to generate at that capacity when the sun's out.
Right. Now, we hear a lot about drought in the Pacific Northwest, but really in California is really bad. The west coast of Canada is starting to feel it. Is this a good application for, say, California, where their reservoirs are historically or low compared to historical standards?
Well, California already has quite a lot of solar. So roughly 26% of California's electricity is generated from solar. So it already has some of this mixture of resources between solar and hydro. And I'm not aware of many plants actually being planned in California to put solar on hydro dams. So maybe there's some kind of policy or technical reason why not. But in theory, if the space is there, then why not use it? It's actually mostly Southeast Asia that's building that's combining solar and hydro plants right now.
Right. Why is that?
Well, they're often space-constrained countries. Dams are often owned by the state electricity generation companies, which can then just co-locate solar on them. And another thing that happens is evaporation. So they're also sunny, so the economics of solar often make a lot of sense. And also putting floating solar or solar on top of water also can reduce evaporation, which is a further driver for dams. For solar on water. An advantage of putting solar on your water, either floating or mounted on the bottom, is that it reduces evaporation from the body of water.
If you put floating solar on a hydrodam reservoir, does that significantly increase the costs, or is it just a small cost?
It's going to increase. I mean, so if you're comparing the cost of floating solar with ground-mounted solar on a flat, relatively cheap site, it's going to be more expensive to put the solar on a boat or on a pontoon, but not massively more so.
And I would imagine that there are cost savings, because if you do it most times on inland on flat ground, you've also got to bring in service and other things that add to those costs. Am I correct in that?
You do. I think generally servicing solar panels on the water may be slightly more difficult. I think at the moment you should assume that floating solar will be slightly more expensive than ground-mounted solar. But also a lot of the places where it's being built, there are not really any other suitable sites. And having the grid connection, it is incredibly valuable.
Jenny, just to wrap up the interview, is this something we're going to see a lot more of over the next 5 to 10 years, or will it remain a niche application?
I think we'll see more solar on everything in the next 5 to 10 years. So yes, we will definitely see more hydro on bodies of water that are not being used. So in fact, there's a lot of solar now on fish farms and drinking water reservoirs. It's not actually just hydro dams, but definitely that's an area that solar is colonizing.
Great, Jenny, thank you very much for this. Really appreciate your insights.
Thank you, Markham.